But our guest on the program this morning is the president of the UPND. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Luchi, good morning, and fellow citizens across the country, good morning.
It's very good to see you on the program this morning. Thank you very much for for joining us, coming all the way from home and joining us. I want to first of all start by saying congratulations on the convention, on the General Assembly, on holding the General Assembly.
Thank you.
And I think that maybe that's a good place to start from. There are many questions that have arisen from the General Assembly that I'd like you to address and just put to bed some of these issues. These issues touch on the very core of good governance, rule of law, and accountability, being able to be held accountable. So one of the first issues that I wanted to ask you was in regards to the different positions, including your own position as president of the party. There's been accusations from some sectors of society that there was intimidation, there was victimization, and that's why certain positions, including your own, nobody chose to contest.
Luchi, I think it's my duty first and foremost to thank you and Radio Phoenix for giving us this opportunity to feature on your very, very celebrated, so to say, celebrated program. And I'm very happy to be here after a long time. Our General Assembly was held in a very, very, very peaceful manner. And I think for that, I want to thank sincere gratitude on behalf of the United Party for National Development, the people of Zambia, more importantly, wherever they are across the country and outside of this country, and those citizens of the global community, the world, that follow democracy happens around the world. We want to say thank you to all of you for your contribution to the success, very, very successful, organized General Assembly. It's also my duty to thank, most importantly, maybe even before I went to anyone else, our independent electoral commission. As you know, Luchi, we went out to get civil society, not just civil society, respected, credible civil society organizations or individuals from organizations, basically focusing on the credibility of individuals, their objectivity, their independence. So I want to thank that Independent Electoral Commission to our General Assembly, headed by Judith Mulenga. Thank you, Judith. And also her colleagues, Pamela Chisanga. Thank you, Pamela. And McDonald Chipenzi. Thank you, McDonald. And a number of those of their colleagues who are from the civil society, who, Luchi, were able to assist us, guide us in the electoral process, the elective part of the General Assembly. Remember, the General Assembly is not just elections. There are other things that we were doing. But when we came to that point, they dissolved the national management, all of us, and then conducted elections in a diligent and basically unbiased manner. So, Luchi, thank you to that team. And there was also a support team around them, the technical team that put up the platform. I don't know if you're aware, Luchi, and the listeners, yes, people followed us, and I thank the many, many millions of viewers. You know, our assembly was one of the largest, drew the largest viewership, one of the largest viewership in millions of viewers followed the proceedings on different platforms. I really thank those. But there was also a technical team that made it possible to have 11 locations that brought people together to follow the proceedings. It needed, internet connectivity. It needed technical know-how behind the scenes. It needed what I may call a Zoom application platform was applied nowhere. First time, not only in Zambia, but on the African continent. We scored a first. So I want to thank all of those people who worked behind the scenes. The electoral, committee of our party, chaired by the elections chairman and the various providers, members of that team. Well done, colleagues. And I think it's important to thank the media who covered that event. Very, very appreciative of their effort, long hours of work, and covering the event, which took over a period of time. And I hope we'll discuss that. The complexities, which to me I called simplicity, because it's a bare necessity. So was very good. So I want to thank all of those people, and truly, Luchi, God was present in our proceedings. There are some doomsday worshippers who thought that it won't go well. It went very well. It went well. I think it can only be God's hand. Of course, behind it there was a lot of planning. We'll talk about that. But here's your specific answer to your question, that there were preserved positions. There was manipulation. That is a figment of imagination by those who hold those views. There was none of that. Most transparent. The nomination process was open for all positions, announced. I, as a candidate, presidential candidate, went to file my nomination. On the first day the nominations were opened, first or second day, and we announced, those who were in charge announced, in charge of elections, that every position is contestable. How can any position have been excluded for one or two people? There was none. I, together with 70 colleagues, so 71, were elected at the General Assembly, which Luchi is, other people, other parties call convention. Because I've heard in the media over years that UPND has never had a convention. What others call a convention is what we call a General Assembly. So please, going forward, let's put that to bed. Very successful. We thank God for that. We thank the people of Zambia. We thank the planners behind this whole process, this novel process. And that's an indication of what the UPND is, organized. I've always said, Luchi, organized, meticulous, diligent, and that's what we bring to the country come 12 August 2021. Okay, so that diligence.
So there was, no one was bullied, no one was victimized, there was no underhand method to ensure that there was only one candidate that you went through and opposed. None of that happened.
How could it happen? Yeah, which it never happened at all.
There's an argument from somebody in civil society who says that it makes no sense that a party can have a leader for 15 years and nobody chooses to oppose them.
What does it mean? What does that individual mean? I think they are surprised that there was order, because they come from their organization, that civil society organizations, which is disorganized. They support a group of politicians, a party. They are surrogates of that party, which is disorganized, which has destroyed this country. And we don't want to waste time on those issues. If there was that view, how come, Luchi, we've received millions of positive reviews? Check the raving on social media, Facebook, right? Twitter, YouTube, go everywhere. Check the print media. What were the headlines after our General Assembly? Positive reviews. Unless, and only those few who have a colossal disease, and that disease is called hatred of fellow citizens, yet they claim they're Christians. Contradictory. Let's be positive in our country. Wonderful event, no intimidation, no blood was shed, nobody was pangered, nobody was shot at. And we want other parties, other civil society organizations like that one, to emulate this peaceful conduct in delivering intra-party democracy. And then deliver this, that's our aspiration, into the national elections, where all must be allowed to campaign freely, no intimidation, no closing airspace on the copper belt because Hakainde wants to attend the funeral of the youth leader. None of that should happen going forward. Let people enjoy their freedoms, liberties, right? Let people enjoy constitutional provisions in terms of freedom of conscience, freedom of movement, and indeed let law and order apply, and equity, fairness. That is what we bring. These are the early indications of what the UPND government will be after 2021 August the 12 elections. Order, restoring order, rule of law, no violence, no hooliganism, no woman goes to a marketplace and finds her store has been attacked and broken, and she is brutalized. Nothing. Not what has been happening by those thugs who have been attacking our member in Woodlands. There's an old lady who trades there. Last week they attacked her. I think you're in the media, you saw that. They've done that 3-4 times. Attacking a woman, a widow feeding her children from a store, market store. You are men? Come off it, man. You have no courage. Never do things like that. Why don't you face trees? Go and hit trees. I wouldn't even say go and face your fellow men, because that's still violence. Go and face trees. You will have a nice exercise. Box the trees. There are plenty of them. Yeah. Or wars. Thank you.
Yeah. You talk about rave reviews.
Yes.
But there was some criticism. One of them, and there are a few. I'll go through, and then you can just try and defend.
Not a problem.
One of them is that you walked out of the General Assembly without appointing key positions. For example, no one was elected as Vice President. The Secretary General is still the Secretary General, as was the case before the General Assembly. Do you want to explain what the rationale was behind not appointing these key positions, or not having these key positions being elected?
Luchi, I love your question. When you say you walked out of the General Assembly without appointing anyone, the Constitution drives what we do. The party Constitution, as UPND, drives what we do. We are a party of order. We're a party of procedures. We're a party that have a thought process which is deep. And we reflected, we brought out that. And I really hope we can spend a bit of time on the outcome of the General Assembly. Yeah. But let me just answer your question by saying we are guided by the Constitution of our party.
Which says what?
Which says that...
And which article? Because I went through your Constitution. And I might have an old one. Maybe there's an amended one which I just don't have access to. But I went through the one from 2015. And I can't see... I'm not sure. Maybe you can guide me. Maybe you can guide me on the articles.
Let me get this very clear. I don't need the articles.
Yeah, okay.
The Constitution is the public level.
Okay.
The core, because I would take too much of people's time. Today they want to hear messages for them.
Yes, no, that's true.
For the people of Zambia.
That's true. It's also, as I said at the beginning, these issues reflect upon good governance.
I understand.
Rule of law
I understand.
And accountability. So I do want you to clear the air.
First, there is no constitutional provision in the UPND Constitution to be voted in for a particular position. The only one that goes to be elected directly is the president. And I was this president. For whatever reason, mostly just out of hatred, which is un-Christian and African, was elected. Then the Constitution provides for, in consultation with other colleagues in the party, outside the party, those with experience, those with members, and they are located, those portfolios. And that process is just beginning. The Constitution provides for that exercise, Lochi, to commence where after the General Assembly has closed, you review what happened quickly, were there any omissions, and if there are any omissions, you close those omissions. Then we come to the table, Luchi, very important, to say, what are the deficiencies? What are the deficiencies? But more important before that, who has gotten the people's mandate through this election and is an accountant? You look at the skill now, and is capable, has experience of being a treasurer general for the party. Who has, right? And the constitution is specific on the treasurer general, right? And the 2 deputies. Very specific. Read our constitution. But let me move to another portfolio. How many lawyers came out of the election process and won, succeeded? I don't want to use the word won, and came through, because everybody's a winner, and came through the General Assembly. Which of these lawyers is credible, has experience, has the ability to manage the portfolio called chairman legal? And who will be the deputies? You look at their CVs. Remember, in the nomination process, in the application to be considered to be NMC, we asked for CVs, curriculum vitae. What are those for? Is to look at the abilities of each individual. And then it's a methodical process, Luchi. Place them in consultation with them. This is a modern way of leadership or management. I come from a school of order myself. If you check who I am, where I've come from, from a village board to where we are now, order, systems, respect, credibility. So then once we've done that, which is a process in itself, we say, very good, we have that portfolio, we have that portfolio, this one is capable, this one can be deputy. My friend, are you available? You ask the people for this, because it's a lot of commitment to do community service like this. In a nutshell, Lochi, that is what is in train now. Okay. That's the process going on, combined with another process, which is to bring in deficiencies in the NMC after election. Only after election you can determine that. Do we have enough women? As it were, we did a checklist, which we designed. A lot of thought process went into there. One, to make sure the NMC, after the General Assembly, Luchi, brings the test of Zambia from the 10 provinces of Zambia. Did we achieve that test? Yes. Yes and yes. 2, do we have gender balance? Do we have women? Did we achieve that test? Yes. What target did we have for gender? 30% plus. What did we achieve, Luchi? 29%. We are short by 1%. But now, again, with our constitutional provision, we'll be able to bring more appointments under the constitutional provision, not outside, more women, so that we can now achieve our own target of more than 30%, because we got short by 1%. But we did very well. If it's an exam, Luchi, we'll have had 90%. 90% is an A. Is that a fail or a pass? It's a pass. Out of deep thought process. So, great. So we're going to do that. We passed that test, but we want to reach the target we have set ourselves. Have we brought ethnicity to the table? Yes. Any small inadequacy here and there out of an election process will be ameliorated, meaning it will be upgraded. That efficiency way is in. Did we have the youth? Yes and yes. This General Assembly brought a lot of vibrant youth. Passed the test. Is that the number we were planning? Remember, every youth is either male or female. So if it's a female youth, partially they're already taken care of in the gender side. It's a male youth, they are taken care of on the male side. But we want to see for ourselves, we set a youth factor. We passed the test, but we want a bit more. So in the constitutional provision of appointments, we will bring more way, methodical way. That's the point I'm making. Who decides
this methodical work? Is it you alone? Is it you and team? What team is this?
You keep me hearing saying
is
team.
This part of? I keep hearing you say team, but I don't know who this team is. Is it members of the committee that was elected, or is it a separate team completely?
A combination.
Okay.
A combination, which is a very good question. If you want to amend the Constitution or enhance the constitutional or regulations, requirements, you consult. But you set a methodical process, an organized process, not chip and depend, as Building was, which was devoid of consultation. We then set a path that in order to get to this objective, and that's what I'm giving you. Regional representation, tick. Gender, women, tick. Youth, tick. Number 3. Number 4, those who live with disabilities, tick. We even pass that test, but we'll upgrade, even bring more. So that's the methodical side. So you plan what you want to achieve. Then you talk about the path you're going to walk, Luchi, to achieve that objective. That is called leadership. That's called management. That's called monitoring and control. Then, with these objectives that you want to achieve, you now go back to the process, the path, consult. Who? That's your question. The management of our party. It's a broader management. I'm using the definition in a broader term. The management of our party is from the branches, grassroots, wards, right, to the constituency, district, province, national management. And it's also a dual, multi-directional, right? A dual process. Luchi, hear me out on this one. Very important. Because the national management is the one that manages the party day to day, it does provide this working path, the process towards this agreed objective, agenda. To remember our theme, which was to reunite Zambia, which is divided today. That's our solution. That's our way of dealing with divisions in the country today, selectivisms in the country, exclusions, by bringing inclusions, by bringing the country together, as it used to be under KK, Kenneth County, President Kenneth County. So, but because they're the ones who are doing it day to day, Luchi, they are the ones then now runs the process of consultations with the provinces. So the draft was done by them, setting the objectives, agreed those objectives way back. And contrary to what some people thought, that the constitution was amended by 1 or 2 people, just malice. Because the national management elected from the grassroots, because every national management committee member comes from a branch somewhere, elected through, they are the ones who ran the process together with a technical team behind the scenes. There's always an engine. That car you see, the beauty you see, tires can't move without an engine. But you don't see the engine when the car is moving. What you see is the tires. What you see is the bonnet. What you see is the headlights. But behind that, there is a fantastic system there. That's what I keep referring. The country is like a car. The system there. The correctness of the technical, wires in there, everything. A technical team, legal, economic experts, which we have in our party. Some inside Zambia, some outside Zambia, but all Zambians. All Zambians. We have social scientists who understand poverty and how we can deal with it. So in a nutshell, my friend, that's the process we went through, a consultation inside the party, using the party structures, bottom up and up bottom, and then technical teams, the engine rooms that you don't see, plus others who have experience in other countries of doing these things. How do you reunite the country? That was focusing on. Number 2, our theme was rebuilding Zambia, which means reconstructing the destroyed economy. That's our agenda. That's how we came up with these changes, and they were approved accordingly, properly. As you know, remember when I was thanking Luchi, the independent commissioners, I said there were other processes that were ours. This is one of our processes, which was within the UPND. And that's how it was approved under our constitution again by the General Assembly by 95, 99, 98% approved. Check the proceeding. Thank you.
Are you going to be you're not going to be the only one who appoints these members?
The constitution?
But will it be a democratic process? Or will there be a fear that, it's the boss, so I need to be a bit careful with with how I present my views over who should be chairman legal, who should be chairman elections?
I have answered that question, Luchi, and thank you for repeating the question. It does help emphasize answers. I have answered that question, that the Constitution, again, in an orderly, organized manner, the engine, one of the important values we bring to this country when we form government, God's will, courtesy of the people of Zambia, is to bring a methodical way of running the country, which is not available now, which is not there now. And you know it, that is not there by the way the country has collapsed economically, socially, health. When you allow expired drugs and you pay $17 million to someone who brings poison, and that poison ends up in a clinic, on a pharmacy, and a citizen who is supposed to be protected by those in public office ends up buying and consuming those poison medicines or drugs or equipment which is faulty, leading to death, who has killed those people? It is the government. You will not see that under the UPND. So this is what happens behind the scenes. So the Constitution is the framework of our party. The procedures are there behind there, right? Regulations are there. Bringing all this on the table, array of factors, and then consultation with
and no one man has the ultimate decision.
No.
I think that's the point that I wanted to make. No one man. When I say one man, I mean you, has that power to decide.
Hang on. Yeah. A constitution provides for who does what. It provides for, right, how you elect the presidency. It's the same constitution that provides that the presidency, in consultation with what I'm explaining to you now, will actually execute. It is what we've also tried to do, Luchi, so I can explain this to the people. What we did in this engine room, don't just look at the headlamps. They mean nothing. The value is not in the headlamp for a car. The value is in the engine. And I want Zambians to begin to think different. They hear noises and choose leaders based on noise. No, open the engine, open the bonnet, see the engine, see how it performs on the road. That's what you should pay for when you're buying a car, right? Because you can easily replace headlamps. And if you want better noise in a car, you can actually pondola the exhaust, and you'll have boom, 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 boom. But it doesn't change the quality of that car in the engine. That's what UPND brings. It's perfect engine, a machine, right? That's well organized, well oiled. So that's a provision in the Constitution in consultation with others. The presidency does that because someone has to lead the process. In our intra-party elections, didn't we bring celebrated ladies, Judith Mleg, Pamela Sisan, gentlemen, Honorable Chipenzi, and the Lord that I praise? We had to do them. We had to do that. We selected them correctly because they are equal to a task. That's the engine sort of thinking I'm talking about, which will better this country. So that's how those decisions you are asking will be made. But, Lucy, back to your earlier question. You can't make those decisions on impulse. We closed our General Assembly a few days ago. We're still assembling now to look at these factors, how they come out. But you know, when you plan, you get good results. The way we plan things, they mix NMC members from all the 10 provinces, these factors I was talking about. Even the commissioners, one of the commissioners afterwards whispered to me, said, HH, I was a bit worried, I was actually scared that this formula, this ballot paper you've designed, each person, 3,000 delegates, very huge, would vote for 7 or so people in each of the 10 provinces from 11 locations happening at the same time. If you multiply the number of delegates and the votes that were cast, they should give you a figure of around 160,000 votes were cast. Tell me, Luigi, which other General Assembly or Convention has ever brought votes like that, democratically, done at the same time, no opportunity to manipulate? You are in 7 locations, it's real time, because it's on Zoom, it's real time. Real time meaning it's happening at the same time. No one, even if you are clever, you can't manipulate. So this commissioner whispered to me, said, I'm afraid, do you think these objectives you set up will be achieved? At the end of this voting and counting and tallying, I said, you bet it will happen.
Okay.
So, hang on, Luchi. So which are these factors? Provincial representation, ethnicity, gender, youth, all of that. After they counted themselves, because they were in charge, and brought the results, said, hey, church, after we did 6 provinces, I began to see a pattern of how the scores were coming. No ethnic, no tribal voting. Just the belief that these ones can do the job. At the end of the day, it brought all the 10 provinces. These are 8. These are 6. Just like that. Like, I said to her actually, that's what planning means. That's how we'll reconfirm, reconstruct, redevelop this economy because of the visionary leadership, strong management, planning, execution. Thank you.
Okay, so if you have a strong plan, when will you announce, when will you sit to decide those key positions?
The process has already started.
Okay. So is there a date?
There's no sleeping on duty.
Is there a date?
Luchi, there's no sleeping on duty.
No, that's not the question. The question is there a date? Is there a time frame?
You said, have you started?
Yeah. Okay.
We've
Have you
started?
started? You
Yes.
started. Is there a date when you complete?
Yes. There's a date.
You want to
But I'm not saying to you. I'm not giving it to you for many reasons. One of the reasons, just to give you an example, it's not malicious. One of the reasons is to now look into all the CVs of those who have qualified. It's a laborious process, right? As it was laborious to count 160,000 votes. Took time, and I want to thank the people of Zambia. I want to thank the people behind the scenes, what I call the engine, the commissioners again, the elections committee, everybody. Delegates, applicants, remember? Patients, glued to the chairs. I want to thank them because they were patient. People were beginning to say, what's going on? It is just laborious. And we didn't want to deliver an election like what we saw in this country in 2015, national election in 2016. And very, very credible, and they delivered.
Okay.
So now, because of that meticulous and the volume work to be done, plus the value of the work to be done correctly, we are doing it properly, CVs, check the deficiencies, because it's all done together.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Another accusation. There are many accusations against the
people are shocked. We have delivered. People are shocked.
There are two more.
They shouldn't be shocked. They ain't seen nothing yet.
There are 2 more things I'd like you to clarify and just to put to bed.
Yes, sir.
One of them is these commissioners that you speak about.
Yes.
These media houses that you speak
Yes.
about.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you've picked up that there are some civil society organizations who felt like they weren't allowed to observe these elections, that there were some media houses that weren't allowed to observe these elections.
I'm not aware.
Okay.
Luchi, to be honest, Munyanaka, Silos, Munyanaka, Muchibemba, Mwachewant, Muchinyanja, Mfana wangu, Muchitonga, Omuyonto, Omujejangu. I am not aware of that. And but all I can attribute such comments is the malice. If you're a surrogate of another party and you prayed that the UPND General Assembly will fail, and it has succeeded beyond imagination. Even our critics, when they go to bed, they cover their head in a blanket, they say, Nivanyamata basha, Baume, Banakash. They're even afraid now to say, how are they going to conduct their own General Assembly? How will they avoid pangas? How will they avoid gunshots and tear gas, which is the culture we don't want to continue in this country. We've provided the example. Please, you don't have to praise us. We don't need praises, because what we're doing is a duty to the people of Zambia. That's what matters. But just be objective. Say things as they are. How come on the closing date, when the results were announced, Luchi, a quick count given to me by my media team was that we had over 40 media organizations. So if that one was not there because they didn't want to be there, I really have difficulties to explain that. I'm not aware. But all I know, I want to thank the media again for the great job that they did. Long hours, endured long hours. It was well worth it. Sometimes, and many times we do wrong things, we take the media for granted. We do not take the media for granted as UPND. We value you. What is the meaning of media? It's a road on which news, information, facts move on. We value it. And more so, we will support the media strongly after the elections of 12 August 2021, so that they're given the independence, the support they need in terms of equipment, media houses. We don't want media houses to fail to buy modern equipment, Luchi, because the cost of bringing modern equipment is too high. We will attend to those things. We don't want duties on media equipment. Bona fide media, houses, we want to make sure that your studios are competitive. What do I mean? They are in tune with the technologies around the world, because it is a platform that delivers news, policies, strategies for development and reporting on the progress that we've made. So for the media out there, the genuine media, the objective media, you have a duty to assist UPND form government, because one of the benefits you get, you operate freely. No media personnel, Luchi, or media house was harassed during the UPND General Assembly. We are a non-violent party. Law and order is who we are. And let others emulate us. ZNBC covered us. Really. I think they couldn't resist how nice the process went, how peaceful it was, how methodical it was, how organized the voting was, and the tallying, announcement of results. They covered. Now we hear that the ZNBC management, leadership, under the instruction of the political party, some political party, are threatening the news journalists that just brought in a second of the news announcing or talking about the UPND General Assembly. Please stop it. Stop it. Don't fire those people. They did their job. They are trained to be professionals. And that's it. Freedom will bring ourselves to the media when we come in. Do not fire those people. If you fire them, when we come after August, we will reinstate them. And based on their abilities, they will be promoted. Thank you.
Do you also want to just touch on why it took so long
to
count the numbers?
Oh,
yeah.
Very good question,
Yeah.
Luchi. Sorry, allow me to continue.
No, that's fine.
Because I'm touching your...
No, that's fine.
Yes.
That's fine.
Luchi, very good point. Very good point. And I think really this is useful. It took long because, one, the design of the ballot paper, Luchi, was meant to fulfill the intended outcome. Shall I repeat that, or you've heard? The design of the ballot paper, amongst many considerations, was in such a way that it would assist the UPND, the United Party for National Development, our party, the Party for the People of Zambia, would bring the intended outcomes. The structure of the ballot paper was, you are a delegate amongst the 3,000 plus, you were given a ballot paper, Luchi, and that ballot paper, after you are ticked at the gate that you are a delegate, your name is there. Because we decided on delegates, Luchi, by position, electoral college, and position holder. At the entrance into the voting chamber or voting desk, because of COVID, remember, I didn't even say that. Earlier we had to observe COVID guidelines, and touch wood, God help us, we did very well, masking, social distance as much as possible, and open air. The ballot, you got a ballot as a delegate, part of the electoral college, it had a list of applicants organized under each province. These are the applicants into the NMC. Province 1, Lusaka, Central, Copperbelt, went on. And the names of the candidates into the NMC. Then you were required to mark, right, as a delegate. In each province, and luckily we were oversubscribed in terms of applicants. There were so many. In some provinces there were 32 applicants, 31, 32 applicants, 30. So you then chose in province 1, like Lusaka, you as a delegate, the 7 you prefer to go into the NMC. Then you go to Central. You vote for the 7 until you have done all the provinces. Quite a process. And that's the number I was giving you, that when you work it out, the ballots, the votes that were cast were 160,000. It was like a mini general election, right? So, and once you did that, that ballot then was amongst the 33,000 or thereabout ballots. So now when you come, this is under the Independent Electoral Commission. When now the voting was over, you now have to sort all these ballots, say 3,000 of them, in the 11 locations, 10 provincial centers, and the headquarters where I was, which the 11th was. So 10 plus 1. Done by commissioners. And they're a team of young people, great young people, men and women, youth, right? Now, they separate them, the normal process. They start counting. There were score sheets that were done to reflect this ballot paper. You know, again by province and how many votes that applicant A, Mr. Piri, Mr. Banda, Mr. Waria, Mr. Muvita, Mr. Monga got in all the 11 centers. And then now summary sheet came through now to record, add all the 11 centers, what Mr. Piri got from the 11 centers, 10 provinces plus headquarters, and for each candidate. And there are 200, almost 200, 150, 160 candidates. Remember, I love mathematics myself because it tells you the truth. So the number of times you vote was on average about 70 times. Each delegate voted 70 times. And there are 3,000 of you. And you voted for about close to 200 applicants. You can work your numbers. That's how you come to the votes that were cast, 160,000. Now separate them properly, tally them, then rank them. All this is brain work. And that's the brain work we bring to this country's leadership and management of public affairs diligently and efficiently, effectively, right? Then, the one with the highest votes, Luchi, qualifies into the NMC according to the constitutional provision and the procedures. And the procedures. And regulations, right? Constitutional provision, procedures, regulations combined together. Then, number 2 will have scored the second highest until you reach number 70, excluding the president who was voted for directly. And this issue of keeping, because why was he unopposed? You were welcome to apply. Everybody was welcome. Everybody, including you, Luch. Welcome. Next time, please apply. You could just be the successor, right? So that's what happened. That's what took long. Okay. And then checking, rechecking, verifying that before the announcement. I'm sorry that it took a bit of time, but it was now under the charge of the Electoral Commission, Independent Electoral Commission. They satisfied themselves, checked everything, collected. Eventually, they told us, come round on Tuesday, ready to announce. They announced. This is one General Assembly, Luchi, where anyone who wants to complain, simply has another reason why they like complaining. And I want to congratulate everybody in the UPND, members, sympathizers, supporters. There is no winner, there is no loser in this process, Luchi. We are all winners. The democrats won, the people of Zambia won. Those who may not be in the NMC, they are skilled in a different way, because no two people are skilled the same way. Even if you studied what I studied, if you did your master's in finance like me, and we sat in the same class in Birmingham University, we are not the same. We are skilled different because the brains are different, right? And we perform different. So those people have their role to play. They are not losers. They are participants in a democratic process, and we value them. That's why I've asked those who have made it to the NMC not to merry-make, not to sip whiskey and wine. This is not time for merry-making. This is a time to work for the people of Zambia. This is a time to work for the children of Zambia, so that every child who's school-going age under the UPND government will go to school, whether they're orphan, single or double orphan. That's our cry.
Let me take a break.
Thank you.
We'll return shortly.